a man whose acting style can hardly be matched. Spencer Tracy managed to make movie history. So what makes him iconic? Spencer Tracy was born in 1900 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, in a Catholic family. He was a difficult and hyperactive child who didn't care much about school. This would later change in his teens as he attended several Jesuit academies. It was at one of these Jesuit high schools that Spencer became interested in theater, which led to him making his stage debut while in college, aged 21. He also joined his debate team, which helped his public speaking and to develop some sort of a stage presence. Less than a year later, Spencer and his high school friend Pat O'Brien joined the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in New York, abandoning his pursuit of a medical career. Spencer made his Broadway debut in 1922 with a bit part. He graduated the next year and joined various stock companies, which didn't enjoy success, and he was soon living on 35 cents a day. Spencer married actress Louise Treadwell the same year. For the next couple of years, he only managed to get roles in plays that didn't achieve much critical acclaim and even less commercial success. Spencer had his first child, a boy, in 1924, but when it was discovered that he was deaf, Spencer thought it was divine punishment for his own sins. The two never got properly close as a result, and Spencer began to distance himself from his family. He began to have some success after playwright George M. Cohan noticed him, and he starred in several productions of his plays, such as Yellow and The Baby Cyclone. Spencer had his biggest hit in 1930 in The Last Mile, which was a critical and commercial success, with special praise going towards Spencer's acting. One of the people who saw Spencer on stage was director John Ford, who had by 1930 directed over 50 films. This is how the actor ended up making his movie debut that year in Up the River, in which Humphrey Bogart also made his debut. Spencer signed with Fox and would return to stage only once more. The head of Fox was ready to make him a star, but the public wasn't ready. It would take him 2 years to appear in a movie that made profit, Disorderly Conduct. In fact, Me and My Gal would go and set a record for the lowest attendance at the Roxy Theater in New York. The same year, Spencer had his second child, a girl, but left the family home the next year. In 1933, he starred in probably his most acclaimed film during the Fox years, The Power and the Glory, but again, the public's attention wasn't caught. Spencer dated Loretta Young during this time, but returned home to his wife in 1935. By then, Spencer began to drink heavily, and the problem even delayed the shooting of films such as Marie Galante. In 1935, he changed studios, leaving Fox to move to MGM, the most popular movie studio of the day. By then, despite making 25 films, he was still mostly unknown to the public, although the critics liked him. To solve this, he was paired with top actresses at MGM, like Myrna Loy and Jean Harlow. In 1936, he starred opposite Sylvia Sidney in the Fritz Lang-directed Fury, which enjoyed critical and commercial success, showing that he could really carry a film by himself. Just a month later, Spencer appeared in the disaster movie San Francisco, the second most popular film of the year, and despite only 17 minutes of screen time, he received his first Oscar nomination for Best Actor. He scored another hit movie the same year in the screwball comedy Libel Lady. The newfound success seems to have helped Spencer, who stopped drinking. In 1937, he appeared in 4 films. One of them, Captain Courageous, won Spencer his first Academy Award for playing a Portuguese fisherman. The same year, he starred with John Crawford in Mannequin, which was a commercial success. Spencer had truly entered his glory years as an A-lister, a fact which was further proven when he starred in Boys Town the next year, film for which he won his second Academy Award. This made him the first actor to win the award in consecutive years, a feat repeated only once since by Tom Hanks in the 1990s. Spencer entered the 1940s a bona fide star. In 1940, he appeared with Clark Gable in Boomtown, the third and final time the two worked together. At the same time, his marriage fell apart, and by then he was living in hotels. He had affairs with co-stars like Joan Crawford and Ingrid Bergman, the latter being his co-star in his only horror movie, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, which was another success. In 1941, Spencer not only renegotiated his contract with MGM, less movies, more money, but he would also meet the one who would change his life forever, Katharine Hepburn. But their relationship didn't start with the sparks you'd expect. In fact, Spencer was turned off by the fact that Katharine had dirty fingernails, and he thought she was a lesbian. All of that would change soon when they began working on the movie Woman of the Year, released in 1942. On the set, the two would fall in love. The film was also a success. As a result, the two were paired again in a mystery drama, Keeper of the Flame, which, despite mixed reviews, was a success. Spencer then starred in 3 war-based movies, A Guy Named Joe, The Seventh Cross, and 30 Seconds Over Tokyo, which made him MGM's highest money-making star of 1944. In 1945, he starred with Katharine in their third movie, Without Love, which the critics didn't like, but it still became a commercial success. The same year, he returned to Broadway to quote-unquote see if he can still act. But it turned out to be a negative experience, finding theater work now repetitive. He would later confess, quote-unquote, "At least every day is a new day for me in films. But this thing, every day, over and over again." As a result, the play closed after 81 performances and Spencer returned to Hollywood. By the end of the decade, he would appear in only a handful of movies, the most notable being Adam's Rib, a new comedy with Katharine that was a smash box office success. 1950 saw the release of another huge hit, Father of the Bride, which also starred Elizabeth Taylor, and for which Spencer received his first Oscar nomination for Best Actor in 12 years. Another success of the era was Pat and Mike, again starring opposite Katharine, and again a success. Spencer would go on to win the Golden Globe and at Cannes for Best Actor for the film Bad Day at Black Rock, but the actor was becoming more and more cynical and lethargic, making him difficult to work with. In 1955, he left MGM and decided to freelance. For the rest of his career and life, Spencer would become more and more ill, unhappy, and less interested in work. He appeared in The Mountain with Robert Wagner and Desk Set with Katharine, but in both cases he had to be pursued to not leave the productions, although he left a proposed remake of The Blue Angel with Marilyn Monroe. One highlight was The Old Man and the Sea from 1958, which Spencer was happy to do and even received Oscar and BAFTA nominations for it, although he didn't lose some of his weight of 95 kilograms he was told to lose, so he had to be filmed in certain angles so as not to catch the weight gain. In 1960, Spencer received some of his best reviews and an Oscar nomination for In Harry the Wild, a film by Stanley Kramer. He would receive another Oscar nomination the next year for Judgment at Nuremberg. But in 1963, Spencer was diagnosed with pulmonary edema and dangerously high blood pressure. It was then that Spencer and Katharine finally lived together, as she moved in to take care of him. His health got worse and worse as he suffered from heart disease, diabetes, and kidney failure. He returned to the big screen in 1967 after 4 years away to appear in Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, his 9th film with Katharine, but he was in such ill health that he couldn't work more than 3 hours a day. Katharine and the director put their salaries in escrow as a means to cover for Spencer in case he passed away before he could finish filming his scenes. The film received 10 Academy nominations, including Best Picture and Best Actor, with Katharine winning for Best Actress. But Spencer didn't live to see all that. He had passed away at age 67 from a heart attack, 17 days after finishing filming for the movie. So, why is Spencer Tracy iconic? Spencer is known for being one of the greatest actors of all time. Several of his peers, like Clark Gable, John Ford, and Humphrey Bogart, have described him as being the greatest actor of his generation, and it's not hard to see why. Unlike the typical acting of the time, which would often be more theatrical, Spencer gave performances that looked natural. He didn't make any grand gestures, instead relying on control and being reserved, giving the impression that he is actually listening, not just waiting for his line. This has made his acting stand the test of time, and younger generations can enjoy his performances still, as they don't seem detached from reality. Spencer was known for his grumpy man persona, but he also had what it took to star in films that didn't ask him to do that. But today, Spencer is best known for his association with Katharine Hepburn. The two formed a romantic couple for 26 years, but their relationship was kept hidden from the public. Spencer didn't want to divorce his wife as being a devout Catholic. He saw that as being a great sin, and admitting to an affair would have had a negative impact on their careers. For a couple of decades now, some people have claimed that the two were beards for each other, as Kate was allegedly a lesbian and Spencer bisexual, which coupled with his Catholic guilt may explain his long-lasting depression. Well, these rumors have never been proven, and Kate herself denied them, but I mention them because it is a talking point for many people. Getting back to Kate and Spencer as working partners, they starred in 9 movies together, usually playing a headstrong woman who starts to see things differently thanks to Spencer's down-to-earth character, although they also often deviated from this formula. Their best-known films include Woman of the Year, Adam's Rib, and Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. Spencer Tracy left a legacy that is miles away from that of his peers, thanks to his natural acting style, which shone even brighter when paired with Katharine Hepburn, making him iconic. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed this video.